Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I pushed my drag shot tutorial to tomorrow because the reflex mode was just updated for Apex Legends just yesterday. Other games already had it applied, and it'll continue to get more as developers integrate it. I put out a video prior about this, which was NVIDIA's ultra low latency mode. I kind of call this in my own personal preference as like 2.0 for ultra low latency, which we did a video on prior. So today's video I'm going to cover from a realistic gamer's perspective instead of the marketing mumbo jumbo or technical mess of it. We're going to enable it for Apex Legends because it's a little different. What is it from a gamer's perspective, and is it actually good? So real quick, in games like COD Warzone, they have it in the menu to enable. But again, for Apex Legends on October 12th, they gave us the ability to enable it, but you kind of have to go through some extra steps. For Apex Legends, you need to open the Origin launcher, which I already have on screen. You go to My Game Library. Then you're going to find Apex Legends and right-click the game. Then go to Game Properties. Click the Advanced Launch Options tab. Then I'm going to showcase the text that you need to put in there on screen. I'm going to put it in the description, and I'm also going to put it in the comment. So it's got this like GFX low latency 1. I already have it in there, so once you put it in there, you save it. So the 1 means you're enabling it, and of course 0 means you're disabling it. Alright, so that was easy. Well, kind of. You had to go through some steps. But let's talk about briefly, from a realistic standpoint, what is NVIDIA Reflex. So it's in games right now like Apex Legends, Fortnite, Valorant, and of course Call of Duty. But of course there's going to be other games that are going to include this, which is like Black Ops Cold War, Destiny 2, Kovacs. So some good news is that this isn't limited to just the new GPUs. So if you don't have a 3000 series, you're fine. I have a 2080 Ti, but it also works with any cards 900 series and above, so that's good. Remember, mileage is going to vary. I will say you will see an FPS hit on older cards or your CPU depending on where the bottleneck is. This is really all about where your bottleneck is in terms of where frames are getting in queue and where your power is on your rig. But overall, if you can support it, it's going to feel snappier. If a game is not supported, you can go to the NVIDIA control panel and enable ultra low latency mode, which is not as effective as reflex mode. I don't know the difference in percentage of discrepancy, but I will say reflex mode, even in Apex, already felt better. So I'm going to showcase it here briefly how you enable it. So it's in the NVIDIA control panel. Go through a few windows here. You go to your specific game, or just in general the tab, and you go on the drop down for ultra low latency. So you want to set this to ultra. I've done a video on this describing it a bit more efficiently, but that's not the topic of today. We're talking about NVIDIA Reflex. If you want that video, I'm going to put it in the description down below. Also goes into talking more about ultra low latency mode. So describing NVIDIA Reflex, it's minimizing hardware latency and how the game handles information coming in, so GPU queue times. NVIDIA Reflex works on the rendering pipeline for latency using driver optimization and how it talks to your CPU, GPU, and so forth. Some of these techniques can result in larger latency savings, while honestly some of them you're probably like, I don't even notice the difference. That's going to happen in certain games. It depends on how they code their game. The Reflex allows game devs to implement that low latency mode, so then you can use this essentially. Long story short, they have this fancy graphic where they show GPU frames are in queue, the CPU is processing frames faster than the GPU can render them, causing backup, resulting in increased render latency. In some aspects, you can change these frames and you can actually improve frame rate, but that's a topic for another time. Then again, even if you have higher frame rate, doesn't mean you're going to have a better response time. I'm going to describe this improvement as going from 3 millisecond monitor response time to 1 millisecond response time. I mean, yes, it is faster by a good percentage, but is it really that noticeable? I'm going to have to say it depends on the gamer. For me, I honestly do notice a difference. The menus already going right into Apex Legends just felt snappier. And when a game like Apex Legends, where literally seconds matter, those small moments are going to add up and make a big difference. The reason I'm putting out this video before the drag shot tutorial is because this can be a massive difference in how you flick shot or adjust fast movement in game. While using this yesterday, not only did my menus feel snappier, but my flicks of where I was shooting were landing. Now honestly, this could all be placebo, but it just felt very telling right away, doing so much aim training on Kovacs, having a snappier game. The game just felt like it was a bit more responsive regardless of the frame rate, so that's a nice to have. Now, my understanding is that some rigs in terms of FPS and performance, you may not honestly notice a big difference. The whole part of the equation matters. I personally have a 1 millisecond response time monitor at 240 Hz. a 2080 Ti, and an i9-7900K processor. All pretty beefy. So when I enabled this, I didn't notice any frame loss. So this is only just a net gain for me. So this is going to help on a setup where you just have a lot of great parts. On older rigs, you need to ask yourself, if this occurs, if you lose frame rate, is it worth having this on? Frame rate can reduce latency, so having a higher frame rate, and also improve responsiveness. An example, make sure you have VSync off. I describe it further. It's like having VSync on versus off. Maybe like 50% of it in terms of improvement from NVIDIA Reflex. VSync is a pretty massive delay. If you don't notice the difference between VSync on or off, then perhaps this technology just honestly is not for you. Now, if you turn on or off VSync and you notice the difference between latency, and start to think of those factors that have an impact, and NVIDIA Reflex is gonna make an improvement. So again, remember there is a potential for lost frames. So if you use ultra low latency before, again, I consider this more of like a 2.0 version of this. It's just a bit more reflexive. It's just a bit more effective. If you lose 15 to 20 frame rate, I honestly just say don't turn this on. If your rig does well with it, I mean, then yeah, turn it on. It's worth it. It's a net gain. It's not going to lose you anything, so of course turn it on. But use your best judgment and give it a shot and see how it does on your rig, because again, mileage does vary. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I appreciate you guys watching the content. I do look forward to putting out the drag shot guide tomorrow for Apex Legends, but I figured this video was very, very important because it just came out for Apex Legends, and I was using it yesterday, and I just noticed it right away. It's really nice when something just feels this responsive, in my opinion. You know, it's not a hard sell on it. I really liked ultra low latency mode, but I have ultra low latency mode on Apex Legends, and I had it on for this when I switched it, and it could be the way they're coding the game and how effective they're implementing the new technology, but I have to say it was nice. Also, another note, I didn't mention at the start of the video, but be sure you have your drivers updated. Having your drivers updated are going to be able to give you the ability to implement this in game. So if you're on older drivers, be sure you do a clean wipe of your drivers and update this. Thank you again so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a like, comment for more. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.